I'm so glad to be here. Always glad to be back to TCD, and I know that I'm still collaborating with a couple of projects, and I'm well, always looking forward to working with you guys and be here. So my talk today is on collaboration on the EPIC model, and I'm going to give you a little bit of explanation what the EPIC model is and who we work with in Latin America and the Caribbean, and some examples of as well of those specific partnerships in Latin America. And then I'm going to finalize with some challenges and as well some opportunities from the region itself via the participation in the model, and then open up for questions. So that's kind of like the way that we're going to be going. But first of all, let's kind of like get into, I'm sure a lot of you are asking what this is, what is EPIC, which is something kind of like very simple. How the EPIC model works. So EPIC stands for Educational Partnership for Innovation in Communities. It's a global network. It exists. It started in the United States in 2009 with one professor, and he was at the University of Oregon. And he just wanted to do something more outside of academia. He wanted to incorporate student, specifically coursework, with communities or governments, and everything kind of like activities outside of the world of academia. And so what he did at the time was kind of like to start collaborations with local governments, especially I think it was kind of some transportation government, local governments, and so they started kind of like to include especially each of us who have been in college, and you have always projects that are due within kind of like your class assignments. And so the idea is not to work with fictitious problems or fictitious cases, but to go really and work with real world problems. So then he would actually go work with communities and ask them, well, what are your needs? What are your priorities? Where can a specific class help you kind of like achieve that? And so that's exactly, in other words, what we do. It's kind of like a more organized network right now because EPIC connects university students and faculty as well with local communities, and specifically to work on these real world projects. And the idea is specifically kind of like to know and to use kind of like this creativity that already exists within the classes, and not only the creativity, but as well the technical innovation from universities to solve some specific community problems, but those specific community problems need to be re-co-designed with kind of like the universities and the communities or the local governments. And of course, it gives the opportunity to provide the experiential learning of this practical experience to the students itself. So in other words, this is kind of like the idea that is what's behind linking knowledge to practice, right? We all know universities have excess capacity, unlimited access to new knowledge, and they always want to kind of like be very innovative. And cities, this is kind of like how it started. Like now we work more as well at the community level. So cities, they usually have this constrained capacities. They have this limited resources to access to new knowledge, and they really don't want to kind of like take risks to kind of like prove or to start some kind of like new projects. And then, so here comes then the questions, how we managed it. So what if we connect already existing university structures, already existing courses, with existing local projects, and at a scale that magnifies kind of like the value added for the universities, for the courses, but then of course as well adding a value added for the communities and whatever kind of like moment they are in within their agendas that student work can help them kind of like to achieve that. So that's kind of like basically what we do. So we know universities are already doing that. A lot of faculties are already working with communities, with local governments, no? So we know that there's already all this happening at the universities, thesis projects, project-based courses, other kind of research projects, service learning courses, some other studio courses outside, internships and capstone courses. But what is missing is kind of like bringing them all together, no? All these other courses together to really work in something kind of like articulated that can help, especially as well, have a scaled impact, right? So if you kind of like look into this existing community partnerships, existing faculties or courses, and you add kind of like transdisciplinary lens to it, which kind of like sometimes we start with one course, but then like the community project need kind of like different disciplines to be part of it. That's why you add kind of like multiple disciplines. And you kind of like get into a massive scale of win-win for communities and as well for this experiential learning. So this is basically, it connects academic learning with the community needs and to create kind of like these win-win solutions for both students and for communities. And there are kind of like different ways that these communities or these partnerships work. And what I would like to mention is as well that none of these partnerships are equal in each universities. They're all kind of like completely different because the idea is that the model adjusts to whatever the needs are or wherever they're in the moment of kind of like being able to connect to communities. So we have partnerships which are kind of like already some more established community partnerships. Maybe they already have a memorandum of agreement, work together, and they're already kind of like maybe known to work for a couple of years together. So these are kind of like already more established partnerships, but you can start just with one project where you identify kind of like the needs and then maybe a couple of semesters later, then it comes into, or it develops into a project, into a partnerships. And then you have initiatives as well, but the idea is to really kind of like to be able to integrate these university courses with the student work, you know, and make them part of their academic studies. And again, there's always a lot of benefits, no, from this kind of like hands-on solutions to kind of like these multiple problems that can have. So right now, as I was mentioning, we have in the network, it started in the United States, so there are kind of like much more dots in the United States, although we cannot see, but we are globally as well. So we have these programs, programs that means already within a university, this idea, the model has been institutionalized. So it becomes already kind of like a program. Or there are kind of like these partnerships that you work with an agreement with a specific community or government, or you're just doing some projects and they may be only for one semester or for 2 semesters, but there's not a program and there's not a partnership going on. So there are kind of like different levels of what's happening. And of course, the way that we see it as well, that we are kind of like tapping into what's happening right now in all these kind of like movements of really we need to have better trained students to kind of like really have better solutions to this kind of like with scientist dilemma that is right, how to solve kind of like this with problems. And then of course there's this movement within in the United States, but as well outside, to kind of like really look into beyond the academy. And there's a guidebook for engaged university students, faculties as well. So we are kind of like working with these networks as well, and kind of like really trying to create this, summing up already what others are doing in terms of creating this model. Part of all the partnerships of EPIC, they need to be tagged or linked into one of the SDGs. There are 17, and that's kind of like, I would say, pretty easy, because most of the projects are actually linked to more than one of the SDGs. And we work as well trying to measure that. We have a MEL system within kind of like the EPIC model, where we are trying to really track the SDG. I know that's kind of like very, very difficult, but at least kind of like give a little bit of some more data information, how the communities are doing, and the communities itself. Once they're within this partnership, they have to report on how they're making an impact. So that's part of that as well. And of course, we are kind of like working as well with the IFCN. They have this manifesto for these ecological urbanisms to really work more on empowering communities and kind of like have a better perspective in educate cities. And so we kind of like work together with all these concepts as well to integrate in these partnerships the cities as well with training, and so that they can actually all have better outcomes within kind of like their partnerships. So I think it's kind of like very important to say that whoever is part, the universities that are part of the EPIC model, they need to follow 5 very important elements. Respect existing administrative structures and individual responsibilities and incentives on all sides. So it's kind of like really when they start a partnership, it's not kind of like they come with their own ideas, but they really kind of like see, okay, what is the community's ideas, what are their priorities and their needs as well. So that is kind of like very important. Create a genuine partnership with local governments, and intentionally aim at improving quality of life, progress on the SDGs, focus on community identified, driven, and evaluated contribution to the community. So the idea is that, for example, if this is a course right now, we go to a community and we ask the community, what is it that you need? What are your priorities? How can we kind of like work together? So we really needs to be a community identified. So that's why it takes time, and that's the role as well of my role to coordinate with the communities and ask them, okay, I have this course here. Would you like kind of like to engage with the professor? Is this a value added to the agenda? And really kind of like work it through with their together co-designing the needs of what these partnerships is going to be. And of course, catalyze many disciplines and large numbers, because that's how you get more solutions and more improved solutions. So in other words, a typical partnership year, this is actually from the network of United States, like you, they're already working since 2009. So more than 500 students have been part of this network, more than between 20 and 25 faculty members, and the same kind of like up to 35 courses. And it's measured kind of like in terms of almost 60,000 hours of effort. So as a community, if there's really kind of like this mass impact or scale to impact. So that's kind of like the idea behind this. Of course, as I was telling you, right now we have started this partnerships of this the implementation of the model in Latin America. Most of the universities have started with one course, with one faculty, but I can tell you a little more about that. But from the one course and one faculty, most of the universities right now, they're having much more, like up to 3 or 4 faculties being part of it, and as well maybe 3 or 4 more courses are part of that. So I was telling you as well, EPIC it's developed in the United States, but it has been expanded into other regions. In each region, we have kind of like work with our own steering committee that guide us. We kind of like meet every month, and we share information. We have projects together. So in the case of Epic Lab, we work, or our steering committee is conformed by ICLE, which is a institution. The World Secretariat is based in Bonn, Germany. They work with local governments, and especially kind of like with cities, to improve their sustainability agendas. And then we work with the II, the Inter-American Institute for Global Change Research, and we're part as well of the United Nations Global Adaptation Network. So they give us resources for as well the partners, and we're friends as well with Future Earth, Belmont, and the AGU, the American Geophysical Union, within their Thriving Earth Exchange Institute. And we have partners as well with SRI, this is the Sustainability Research and Innovation. And this year, our annual conference is going to be within the SRI. We've been already participating for the past 4 years in SRIs as partners, but this is going to be the first time that we're really going to be as well. EPIC is part of the SRI. So as I was telling you, we started in EPIC Lab with some seed grants since 2023, but we have as well EPIC Africa and EPIC Asia. The EPIC Asia started in 2020 and EPIC Africa in 2016. And while these are kind of like the universities, I think you can see them actually here, that are really right now part of the network. And I'm going to be showing a couple of examples of how they are doing the implementation in each kind of like area. And these are kind of like some of our partners right now. We have about 14 active partners that are like, what does it mean to be active partners? To be active partners is that they are being certified by EPIC. This is kind of like a process that they have to kind of like show how, like specifically follow kind of like the 5 models, the 5 elements of EPIC, and they have kind of like to show how they're implementing the model, and then updating as well the information on our website and as well with our partners. And so we have 14 active members, but then some of the universities, they have multiple partners as well. So we have at the end about 20 partners within kind of like the whole network. These are kind of like the SDGs that the universities are working on. I would say that most of the universities are working on SDG 11 and 13, sustainable cities and communities and climate action. And as I was saying as well, most of them have several SDGs that they are reporting on or working on. And how do we work together? So we have an external advisory committee that we meet like once a month with a couple of the universities, where we discuss how we want to kind of like strengthening our partnerships and how can we maybe incorporate new universities, because yes, we're working mainly with private universities, we're working mainly with urban universities, and we would like to really extend our work in other universities, kind of like that may not have the same capacities, kind of like to implement the model. And that's true. So we're trying kind of like with the universities on site as well to see how we can help and bring other universities on board as well. We have a publication working group. Right now, we partner with Latinoamerica 21, and it's a global online platform that works as well with IAI to have a compendium of all the projects and initiatives and publish kind of like their testimonies as well. And we have replica exchange sessions, for example. One university would like to know how to implement the same way that another university, for example, one university in Peru, we're working there with the environmental law clinics, and they, for example, have a very structured model, and they're trying to show other universities how to replicate the same model within their campus. So, and the other campus, they're working maybe with honeybee implementation and working with honeybees association, and they have kind of like a very successful model, and they're trying to then show and learn other universities about that model. So those are kind of like the replica exchange. We write proposals together, and we have a monitoring and evaluation working group. We provide internships. Right now, we have one internship provided by the EPA, the United States Environmental Protection Agency. They sometimes look to position interns in different institutions, and so we got one specific for EPIC Lab. We have collaboration working groups. Right now, we just partner as well with Penn State Global. They have like this COIL. I don't know if you have heard. This is the stands for Collaboration Online International Learning, and they have kind of like their own type of COIL, which is called EDGE, Experiential Digital Global Engagement, where the idea is to exchange kind of like those courses already with other universities. So what the course that they're implementing through EPIC can be implemented maybe in Brazil or and the other way around as well. So that's kind of like the idea to work, and we kind of like try to be present at conferences as well and organize sessions from all the projects. Some examples now from the EPIC, like so I was mentioning kind of like we were working with the Universidad Católica Pontificia Católica del Perú in Lima, and they have different projects that are part of EPIC within kind of like this environmental law clinic models. One is they're working, like you can see for here, for example, there are 4 professors working, 14 students are part of this, and as well the SDGs kind of like they're trying to report on. But one of the projects is kind of like to really contribute to a better understanding on the Peruvian environmental legislation to combat wildlife trafficking within the framework of the Peru-US trade agreement. And so the students kind of like work, and they have to interview and work kind of like with the Ministry of Environment. Oops. And then they have another one as well on contributions to the Global Treaty Against Plastic Pollutions. Their work as well with some of our partners from the United Nations, and the students as well get real kind of like cases, and they have to contribute to that. And the one that I like the most are kind of like the contributions to the law on environmental defenders, and they actually went to the rainforest and worked as well with environmental defenders and try to understand kind of like better their experiences with environment, illegal mining, illegal logging, and so for the students it was really kind of like an eye-opening to be on the spot and learn about that, and then kind of like report back and try kind of like to give recommendations as well. We have, this is in Mexico, Universidad Veracruzana, where we work with 2 projects. One is in this case, for example, they already, in a matter of 1 year, they already created a program which is called EPIC Fideo Agua. And that project or program works kind of with specifically the municipality of Coatepec, who are kind of like are improving. Oh, I'm not doing anything. They're working kind of like on strengthening the environmental service payments with this program, and of incorporating the students as well, like different courses with the students. As you see here, it's kind of like, in that case, very multidisciplinary, because they have like in this case of Kidokawa, they include, for example, schools of biology, psychology, pedagogy, advertising, public relations, business administrations, all trying kind of like to get to work with these organizations and the local municipalities to see how they can improve the system for environmental payment services. The other one is as well with another municipality, and this is the city municipality of Cordoba, where they're kind of like trying to look for innovative solutions for waste management as well. And you can see kind of like here how many students, how many professors have been part of that, and what they're doing, for example, a feasibility evaluation, and as well funds for proposals, and so these are kind of like the impacts, the way that they're working through their classes. This is another example. This is the Universidad Autónoma de Bucaramanga in Colombia. That's with Institute of Public Policies. And Bucaramanga is located kind of like very close to the border with Venezuela. And so they have been experiencing a lot of migration from Venezuelans. So the city has had kind of like an overload of like what to do. And so the university, this program now works in facilitating the government in easing kind of like all this process. And so as you see here, they have kind of like a program right now on initiative by the universities, Ponte en la maleta del otro, kind of like put yourself in the luggage of another one. Kind of like to really increase consciousness and all kind of like these experiences of and especially as well the relationship with this overload of migrants coming from Venezuela in this case. So again, and always working with the municipalities. We have here another one in Mexico with the Universidad Autónoma Metropolitana. This is the rescue of the Piedad Lagoon, which is outside of Mexico City. Mexico City has a problem that they always have lack of access to water. And so the one professor, she has been working already for a couple of years with a community, a Llanos community outside in Laguna La Piedad, which has been kind of like really polluted, and they tried really to rescue and to put kind of like students on the ground and really try kind of like to do a lot of studies in terms of reducing the health impacts and as well conflicts over water, improving kind of like biodiversity and the loss of ecosystem. And with this, the work of this professor, she actually got very recently recognition as the Mujer Defensora del Agua, a defender, a woman defender's prize for that. And for this example, it was very good because all these universities that I'm showing here, they got a seed grant from EPIC. So that's how kind of like we started the extension in the area in Latin America. But then, of course, the seed grant is only for only a year and a half. And then after that, the university kind of like takes over and sees kind of like what is the impact. and recognize the work of the professors, and they help the professors to continue kind of with that. And so that happened in Mexico and with this university that really they got so much attention from the media and from the local governments, and then with this recognition that now the university is tapping into it, and she got funding, and that's the idea behind it, that we help them move on, kind of like the first step, but then the universities, they see the value added, of this. Couple of more on the Universidad de Colima. This is what I mentioned as well. This is the categorization of different types of honey, helping as well honeybees association of farmers to add value through kind of like quality assessment, so that they can sell their products much better, and the university with the students, they produce a pollen library, and as well generation of risk map, and yeah, we have here, they started kind of like as well with one class, and now they had another one. This is in Ecuador, Escuela Superior Técnica, Técnica del Litoral, and there they're working with fisheries communities and improving as well the sustainable development on strengthening the qualities of the fishery communities, and managing as well their agriculture expansion, but as well how they work, and they work with the water management. Other programs, this is one in Brazil, the solar school project with the city of Belo Horizonte, where they are bringing solar energy to public schools. And this is one of the oldest EPIC LAC, because it started actually before I started with them. And there's another one for ESPOL as well, on strengthening sustainable produce and agriculture security. And this is in Brazil as well, with the Universidade do Estado de Mato Grosso, where they're improving the waste collection model within the municipality of Nova Sarantina. So it's always kind of like working with the municipalities or with associations, kind of like to improve a specific topic, and in this case, they did solid waste management. Besides that, we were kind of like, as I was telling you, we were writing proposals together, and not only with the partners, but as well with our steering committee. We recently got one, which is the Global EBA Fund, financed by the IUCN and the Global EBA Fund. It's right about to start, so it's called Catalyzing Unconventional Partnership in Latin America for Urban Ecosystem-Based Adaptation, where the idea is kind of like to expand as well the model, the EPIC model, but this university-city collaboration, but within kind of like urban ecosystem-based adaptation topics and projects and initiatives as well. And we're gonna be doing some on-the-ground workshops for them with experts from the ground, from IUCN, and so that they can kind of like have finance mechanisms for continuing as well this type of urban ecosystem-based adaptation. So we're about to select 4, and then the project is going to start, and we are doing this together with the IAI and their Transdisciplinary Academy component, because the idea is as well to train all these universities in this transdisciplinary approach. And then we have just another one as well, building collaborative institutionalized research action infrastructure among universities and communities to solve community problems and advance the SDGs in Latin America and the Caribbean, which was just funded by the NSF. And they're kind of like, we're mainly interested in working on us on working on monitoring and evaluation targets and indicators. So that's basically what we're going to be doing. I think that that's very important because it's not only going to be important for Latin America, but it's going to give kind of like a test pilot for all the other regions how to really improve the implementation. Yeah, there are opportunities, there are challenges. Opportunities, of course, a lot of professors in Latin America, they're overloaded with work. So one more work, being coordinating this type of work is really a load on them, but at the same time, it can be an opportunity. It can be seen as an opportunity. Engaging in more practical and applied is sometimes very new. It's not easy kind of like to bridge that stone because some professors are resistant to that. They just want to kind of continue teaching the way they're teaching. But what they like is kind of like that this is an articulated initiative. So a lot of them were already doing that in a very minor scale, but being part of a network really elevates kind of like the internationalization, being kind of connected to resources, to other partners, and then as we're working in a very transdisciplinary way. This is something that there's a lot of resistance still, but little by little, yeah, like it is kind of like a good exposure for a lot of professors that are really starting as well in their universities. Access to financial mechanisms. As I was telling you, if the partners are certified by EPIC, then they can access to kind of like the resources that are available, and some of them are finances as well. International regular recognition. Like, for example, the lady in Mexico, like just kind of like by starting and being working kind of like in a more articulated way, she got international and regional recognition. And a lot of universities, we did scoping analysis like about 3 years ago, and a lot of universities at that time told me, okay, like we're really right now in a process of a curriculum reform, and so EPIC model comes right at the right time because we don't know how to do it. Like the part of the curriculum reform is to have more applied and practical courses, and so we are helping them to get there. And the peer collaboration, like the publication that we're doing, and we're giving them as well this access to monitoring and evaluation. Of course, challenges, working in a very interdisciplinary and participatory way is a challenge, right? And then the timelines and schedules between local governments and universities, they don't work in semesters. They work differently. And within the universities, some authorities, they're still kind of like resistant. They don't want to institutionalize the model, or they have something different, something similar. But the idea is kind of like to help them to get institutionalized so that there is kind of like this recognition. And yeah, and there's always the problem, like who does kind of like the local coordination and finances, lack of finances. Although the idea is that the model should not require so much money, like basically like reports, publishing, a report like printing or transportation, but it's not the idea that it's kind of like really very extensive. That's kind of like what I wanted to show and give you examples and open to any questions.